in the background by Mr. Daniel Ruplal, who has a first degree in environmental science and natural resource management with a minor in agriculture and a master's degree in climate studies, again, with a focus on agriculture. So these two young gentlemen, the one that you will see, Mr. Nikolai Emmanuel, and the support he has from Daniel Ruplal, will be presenting to you some of the tips and tricks that you can think about using in preparing for the AI hackathon. So now I hand over to Nikolai.
Thank you so much, Mr. Baldev Singh. So good morning, everyone. I am Nikolai Emmanuel. I am very excited to be with and presenting you all this morning. And today what we are going to look at is a very special practice session, the first of two sessions, that is. And what we are aiming to do is to understand a bit of the workflow that one can take when approaching the hackathon. This is by no means an indication of anything that you must follow step by step, but it is an example based off of what you will be faced with at the hackathon, especially given the type of data that you will be provided with in terms of your electricity data. So this morning, what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we move from a raw CSV file into a professional presentation of the findings. So the workflow will mirror some of the approaches that you may take, right? So let's get started. And some of the areas that are on the agenda this morning are understanding how to open and read your data sets in Microsoft Excel, how to use AI effectively in terms of how do we generate effective prompts and not only generate the prompts effectively, but how do we know when do we need to generate a specific prompt? Keeping in mind that the resources that we're using are somewhat limited in terms of the number of prompts we could use, particularly from the free side of the application. And then keeping in mind, we are in an energy saving hackathon, and understanding the amount of consumable energy resources it takes to actually utilize AI. And using the data, we want to actually generate meaningful insights. So I'm sure all of y'all would be aware of the difference between data and information. So we will take a look at that this morning as well and understand why it's important to actually be able to display what it is you're trying to communicate effectively to your stakeholders, right? We also want to present evidence-based recommendations based off of the findings that the AI is able to highlight and identify for us. So let's jump into this strategy, right? So when you first get your data, it's going to be in CSV format, .csv format. And what that is, it's a format for Microsoft Excel, comma separated values. And it's somewhat different from a regular spreadsheet that you may create. However, you need to understand the correct way in which to load it, right? And many teams might rush directly into building charts or dashboards without first understanding the data. And this really often leads to poor conclusions instead of following a very structured workflow. So you need to start by loading and understanding that data. And then next you would determine what questions you want to answer, followed by leveraging the AI with your well-developed prompt to generate some deeper analysis. And then from that analysis, you want to transform the findings into some visual or easy to digest set of information that the user would be able to understand, right? So understanding this importation. So this is our first task when we get the information. And in your case, it's going to be information related to the school's energy consumption. I carried out a trial run that utilized the emissions data from New Zealand by industry. So similar environmental data. And I followed a lot of the same steps that I just described earlier. So taking it from this raw CSV file, how did I open and understand it to taking it to a final product? So the very first step is importing your CSV data into Microsoft Excel. So this allows us to effectively open and read the CSV file. If you just click on the CSV file, you all are not going to, it's not going to open correctly. It will still open inside of Microsoft Excel, but it will not be displayed correctly. It will just be a lot of text with numbers and very difficult to interpret. So your very first step is to import the data. And we do this by opening a blank sheet, going into the data tab in the top toolbar. And then from there, we click Get Data in the most left-hand corner. That would open a drop-down menu that allows you to load From Text CSV. And when you click the From Text CSV, you would identify the location where you would have saved your file on your computer. And this would allow it to correctly open and load the data into Microsoft Excel. So in the next slide, I will show you exactly what that looks like. And when you're doing that, what you want to look for, you want to verify that your column headings are correct, the data is loading correctly, all the dates and the numbers are showing up as they should. So we'll see right here, it gives you a lot of different information on the region, the description of the type and class of emissions data as well. It also displays information related to the values, right, and different years of information. And it now looks more like a regular spreadsheet table that one might be accustomed to. So when you import the data correctly, you're now able to understand, okay, I have a certain number of categories, I have a certain number of regions that I'm looking at, I know which units I'm looking at, I know the type, the SI units that I'm dealing with. So you now, as the human, you have a certain amount of background information that you can begin working with. And as we know with AI, the more information we give it, it is the better the output is going to be. And you're going to hear me repeat that quite a few times throughout the presentation. We cannot only rely on moving forward from the next prompt. We always have to give our input, review what it is the AI has put out, and then move forward, right? So once we're able to successfully load our data and we understand exactly what we're working with, we can start moving into some of the fun parts of it, which is actually getting into the AI, right? So before analyzing anything, spend time to understand the data. You need to think of yourself as a detective investigating a case. The columns would tell us part of a story, and understanding the meaning behind each field would really help you to identify the opportunities that are available for analysis. So at this stage, you shouldn't focus on making any conclusions, but you should focus on learning what information is available and how it could contribute to solving the problem, right? So in your case, we are looking for a certain amount of energy efficiency increase within the school, right? So in looking at the data and looking at the different columns that you have available to you, it would be your task to begin identifying, okay, well, what are the most vital questions I can ask, right? And definitely we will also use AI to assist, but you as the user, you need to know what is the primary area that you need to focus on, right? So what are the areas that I am most interested in? Because again, if we just leave it to the AI will give us a whole lot of things, right? Which in some cases is good. But if you're trying to be very, very precise about what you're trying to deliver, then in certain cases, it's much, much better to very clearly identify what it is you want to do. And this leans into defining your objective, right? So in your case, the objective is to carry out an energy reduction of at least 20%, and Mr. Baliosen can confirm this. Carry out at least a 20% energy efficiency increase from the energy data that you all are receiving. And now you could actually utilize the AI as well as your understanding of the circumstance of the objective that you're trying to achieve. You can now begin using this to start understanding, okay, well, what areas of my school actually consume the most energy? What factors influence the electricity usage that I might see when I receive my data? How is the school using electricity over time, right? We have 3 terms a year. How does that impact the school? So certain questions like this and certain more unique questions you may arise when you investigate your own school. And this gives you the opportunities to further define your objectives. So when we looked at the judging criteria, we realized that your creativity, the ingenuity that you bring, your creativeness, that actually counts for quite a lot. So defining your objectives and asking the right questions, knowing exactly how you want to display your information, this becomes a very critical part of approaching the hackathon. And this leads us into generating your first AI prompt, right? So a lot of the high level usage of the AI is very limited. And what you want to do is make sure that when you're going to be asking for the most technical aspects of your project to be processed, you're not simply doing so with a general prompt. As we reviewed in some of the earlier training sessions, the prompt, what you feed the AI, is of critical importance. So now that you understand your project objective, you understand the data set, and you have all the relevant background information, you would be able to begin doing your master prompt, right? So this would include all the various technical aspects that you would like the AI to actually achieve for you, right? And you would have various iterations of this as the AI gives you more and more information, and you understand more and more about the output that you're looking to display, right? So once you have this master prompt, it becomes a very detailed cycle that you can use and you can further continue to refine until you are ready for your final output. And when you begin understanding more and more of the data and you answer some of the questions, or you have some of the questions about the data answered for you, you can apply those to further prompts, especially as it relates to some of the solutions and recommendations that you're aiming to achieve. Right? So prompt engineering, as we said, is a very iterative process. One prompt will not do the trick. And we need to identify, we need to make sure when we're reviewing, even when we get back this master prompt after inputting our generic prompt, we need to make sure that this covers everything before hitting OK, run, right? So we need to be very clear about what recommendations we want the AI to give us, specifically what areas we needed to cover, etc. Right? And AI can identify patterns quickly, but again, you as the user, you remain heavily responsible for validating any of these conclusions. We cannot just accept every result as face value. And this is why we're a team, right? So it's very fortunate that we are approaching the hackathon in groups, and we have multiple persons with different skill sets who would be able to achieve, okay, is this data that the AI has outputted, is it lining up with what I'm seeing on the Excel spreadsheet? And while you have one teammate doing that, you could have another teammate drafting the next prompt, right? So this is how we work together to analyze and interpret the results. And when that teammate who's actually doing the investigations, you would look for certain things like major trends, any significant differences that was able to be highlighted. So perhaps 1 month of electricity data was significantly higher than another, right? You would be able now to start making inferences and interpret why this may be like that, right? And in doing so, again, you would further identify what areas and opportunities exist for actually including solutions to these issues that you've identified. So again, we see the iterative process again coming back into play here over and over, especially as it relates to the AI and human element working hand in hand together, right? So remember, I said I would repeat that quite often because we need to understand it's not just about speed, but it's also about the quality of the information that we're looking for. Right? So always verify your calculations, confirm any assumptions made by the AI, and cross-check your results with any raw data as often as possible, right? So you don't want one error within the presentation to lead you completely off track, right? So people understand visual information, right? So everyone learns differently. However, the sample data set that I am using. So as I go forward, I'm going to show you how I have transformed some raw data. Again, we saw the broad information in the spreadsheet. How do we translate that for a common person? Because that spreadsheet, if I recall correctly, it had over 1,000 rows of information, right? So that is very difficult for someone to just look at and correctly interpret the data. It's impossible to find any trends very easily from that large number. So we have to visually be able to display this information. And it's much faster now, given the advent of AI and some of the tools that we could use. So effective visualization really becomes a core part of presenting our information to the general public or any of the stakeholders who might be involved, right? So some of these would be the classic bar charts, your pie charts. You might do heat maps, trend graphs, geographic maps. It's really up to you. The sky is the limit here, right? So you could put as much visual information as you're able to capture into your presentations, into your report. And an important thing to note as well, especially as it is a competition, you need to begin with a bit of the end in mind, especially as it comes to understanding what is it that my team and I are going to present. So for this example, I built a dashboard, but you can use AI to generate a dashboard, interactive dashboard, web applications, data portals, different reporting interfaces. Mr. Balyosing said there was no limit on creativity. You could use it to generate short films. You could use it to generate calypsos, right? There is a lot of ways that is available for you to display your information and carry this information across to persons, right? And you could use tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Power BI, Tableau. There are a host of other modern AI tools. And again, I hope the teams are beginning with the end in mind in terms of understanding, okay, I want to build a dashboard ultimately for my school. You need to understand these processes before you come next week on the day and begin, because it would be difficult to just figure out on that day. So use the time to prepare well as a team. So for this example, I took the data from the New Zealand greenhouse gas emissions, and I created a dashboard using Claude. I created a master prompt in ChatGPT, clearly outlining, okay, so I would like this data analyzed to point out who was the highest emitter. I also wanted it to show me persons who experienced the most amount of change, positive and negative change as it related to their emissions in New Zealand. So what I was able to do is successfully open the CSV file, understand the information, place it into the AI, have it analyze and understand. And then once I understood some of the trends that I was looking for, I asked Claude to use its highest level capability to develop an interactive dashboard that I would be able to publish online for persons to use and see the information that I was trying to present. So this is one of the products that it was able to output. This is not displayed on Excel. It is serviced by code, and you can see all the information relating to the specific areas. And it is interactive. So when you're on the website and you click emission trends, regions, industry, gas type, or the key findings, as we will go through them, it interactively displays them for you so that the different charts come up. When you put your mouse over the different areas, it would automatically show you the values. It provides more and more in-depth information for various different categories that was present in the original CSV file. So for example, this one is looking at the emission trends by sector. And you see for agriculture, you can put it right next to it and it shows you exactly the percentage that this was responsible for. And while it is good to view the changes and the good summary information, one thing that is amazing about AI is its ability to point out the key findings throughout your entire data set. So when you clarify some of the information that you are looking for, you are able to work with the AI to effectively display information rather than data, right? And again, once you add your local context and knowledge, uh, this drastically improves the quality of the output that you're looking for. So one of the areas, and again, as Mr. Baliosing indicated, this is a bit of tips and tricks. So I'm trying to put myself in your shoes as students and think, if I was in secondary school still, how would I approach going about the hackathon? You can look for very detailed school-specific information to feed the AI. What are your specific building conditions? What are the equipment that is in the school that's being used? Some of your environmental observations, the number of persons in your school and their practices. Historically, what has the culture been throughout your school, you know? Is there any way for you all to change and go back to a less energy consuming way of doing things? Um, and I'm sure the creativity of the young children now, you all would have a lot more uh, suggestions than I would. So I really look forward to seeing them displayed on the day as well. And then at the end of the hackathon, so once you're able to display all this information and present it in some way, you can also generate reports, right? And not just simple reports, but actually high level and detailed reports. Once you give the AI information on your background, what it is you're doing, it would actually output full documents for you in some cases. And you can use and incorporate now the visual information that you would have received through your dashboard into your reports so you could answer any specific question that a stakeholder might have. And some of the final deliverables, so some of the things we're looking to get out of these students at the end of the hackathon would be very actionable insights. So it's not measured by the number of charts created or the complexity of the dashboard, but is going to be, the success really is going to be measured by how effectively you all could answer that research question and combine the analysis, the AI tools, your own experiences, your teamwork into the strongest possible outcome. So your team should be able to clean and understand the data set, to open and load it. You should have some level of AI generated analysis as well as your own. Validate your findings, provide some sort of visual or interactive display of your information as well as some recommendations in your professional presentation. So I thank you all very, very much, and I am very excited and look forward to seeing you all carry out your presentations next week. So good luck again to all the teams.
Thank you very much, Nikolai. You told us a lot of things in a short time. Unfortunately, the video will be available via YouTube. So our participants, we encourage you to go to CZITT's YouTube page, follow us so that every time a new video comes up, you'll be able to get a notification and access the videos there and review them so that after you look at them more than one time, you'll capture a lot of what is being said to you. We have always in these sessions an open period in case there are any questions that persons have put up. We'll ask Daniel to ask the questions and Nikolai to answer them.
All
Do we
right,
have?
we have
Mhm.
one question in the chat. So on the day for the hackathon, given these list of necessary steps and different techniques we are use, how would what are we what are we expected to do when answering or when presenting these findings for our presentation?
All right, Mr. Wright. So I like that question. So again, as I said, a lot of the creativity is going to be up to you, right? There is going to be the option to present a dashboard. You could present a website. Some persons may be able to build an app. The possibilities with AI are really endless and boundless now. You actually have persons, you might make a video, right, that summarizes all the information and suggestions that you're doing. There are a number of ways to display the information, and picking the most effective option, that is going to be up to you and your team. Whether it is a PowerPoint presentation based off of the information that you was able to gather, or it is a song that you put together. If whatever your capabilities are, we want to see the extent of. If you're able to develop an application that you could put on your mobile phone, then we looking to see that as well, right? If you do charts and graphs, a number of charts and graphs in Excel, and you generate code that analyzes the information in Excel, we're happy to see that, right? So we want the creativity to be up to you. It's not a list of necessary steps by any means. You all have the freedom to do what you wish with the data and present it to us in the most effective manner. Once again, we could achieve the objective that you're setting out. The objective is to identify a means to reduce your school's energy consumption by at least 20%. So you could aim for higher, definitely. You could aim for 20%. But we really want the creativity to be within the hands of the students. Yes, so over to you, Mr. Balusin.
All right, thank you for your answer, Nikolai. I will now hand over to Mr. Baldiosing.
Thanks very much, both Daniel and Nikolai, for putting together this presentation, which I find is very informative and would be really important to the students who are participating in the hackathon. I have an announcement before we go away, which is that we are getting more and more prizes for excelling in this hackathon. And I don't just mean by using Microsoft Excel. We have various categories of scoring, including data analysis and AI use, feasibility of your recommendation, how likely it is that it can be implemented. As Nikolai keeps pointing out, creativity and imagination. Then there's the presentation and clarity of your presentation. And then we assess your teamwork and leadership skills. In each one of these categories, there will be special prizes, so that it could be that your solution is not very feasible, but it is very creative, and you would walk away with a prize. Of course, the top prizes will go to the overall top um, participants. But in each area that you can excel, you can win prizes in this competition. Every participant will have a certificate of participation, and the ones who win the special prizes will have special certificates. They will be very useful for you further on when you go to apply for university and you present these certificates. There's also the opportunity to learn from the preparation and what you will learn and experience on the day itself. This hackathon is something special, and you have to consider yourself somebody special to have this opportunity. Please take advantage of it. We heard that some schools are having trouble making up their full 6 students, and we said, come with any number of students up to 6. Even if you have 4, 3, or even 2 very interested students who are preparing, allow them to come and to participate. We may be seeing the next Steve Jobs, or one of the big famous people in IT or in AI in this group. And we want them to have a chance to show themselves and to shine. So looking forward to you all coming in on the 12th of June. And if you have any questions, please send them to us at the website. There's a link to the email address, admin@czitt.com, and there's a telephone number as well. Let's hear from you. Let's clear up any issues that you have that you need support with, and get ready to come and participate in this hackathon. Thank you all very much.